Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Earlier this week, Claire Tippins shared a princess nickname generator, 3 pictures of her dog wearing a tutu, and 2 online quizzes, including what candy is your dream castle made of? Claire, your sharing has tipped the sugar scale and turned into oversharing. But have no fear, princess. Geico has something worth sharing with your internet kingdom, like how you could save hundreds on your car insurance just by visiting geico.com. No magic wand required. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show. Covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. DJ Sports. You can follow me at DJ Sports1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. TJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our site, www.110nationsports.com for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. To apologize about the 4-minute tardiness. My roommates, they decided they were cooking steak tonight, and he tried to get hold of me earlier as I was getting prepared for the show, and the message didn't come through until about 8 minutes before the show. And most people, when they cook steak for somebody, they just assume to cook it well done. And they had cooked that steak to perfection. I'm a medium to medium rare guy. I like some deep, dark pink color to my steaks, and that's exactly how that steak was cooked. So I couldn't put that down to include the seasoned fries and the corn on the cob that went with it, but definitely couldn't lay those down, and so I had to. I tell you what, I ate a whole T-bone steak, a corn on the cob, and a side of fries within about 4 minutes. I really pounded the heck out of that stuff, but I couldn't put it down. I couldn't stop and allow the steak to get cold. That's one of those things that you just don't allow to get reheated. Like I could. Shorty had cooked steak. What's that? Last week? Yeah, last week. And we had some left over, and she was asking about the next day. And steak is just one of those things that doesn't get reheated in my book. And so it was either eat it then, even though it had already been off the grill for 30 minutes, it was still warm, or there was a possibility I was not going to eat it. It loses its flavor, it loses the juiciness. That's part of the reason why I like it medium to medium rare. I like it nice and juicy. And so I had to take advantage of it while I had the opportunity. So I got to thank my roommate and his father for cooking the steak and hooked me up some steak tonight. And things are kind of tight in the 110 Nation, and more specifically the DJ and the Shorty household. So very, very tight right now. As her job really screwed her royally, and then my bank just really did a number. No Vaseline, got me bleeding so hard how hard I was screwed. So, what just happened? How did my fan page just change? Now that explains so much more why you kept putting at Mr. CJ Sports. my personal fan page, for some reason underneath my name, it says at Mr. CJ Sports. It used to say news personality underneath there. That's not even my Twitter handle. As my Twitter is at CJ Sports 1, which I would like to change. If I could get at Mr. CJ Sports, I would love to get that for my Twitter handle. That's something I'm going to work on changing, but I have not. That explains why you kept including at Mr. CJ Sports and everything. I don't know when that changed or how that changed, because they used to say Mr. CJ Sports on my fan page, and underneath it used to say news personality. So that's really weird to me how that's changed, and I have no idea how that changed. But anyway, here we are. Thursday night. Wednesday night. Things wrapped up here for the 110 Nation Sports Show, as you know, we're Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Get you guys ready for the weekend, and more specifically, get you guys ready for the rest of the week shows. This we got Racing with Big Sweat tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We got Hot Laps with Stats on Friday night, 8 p.m. We got the Happy Hour Garage Saturday at noon, and we're still tinkering and toying with the Sunday night show that we're going to be bringing on board. Really haven't made no decisions. I know that we got a couple possibilities of people doing shows. The only downside, the only downside with the couple possibilities we have right now is they are race shows, and there's nothing against race shows, but 4 of our 7 shows right now are race related, and we're an all sport company, and I want to at least even it up and have 4 non-race shows out of 8 shows, so we're a little bit more diverse. I wouldn't be objected if someone wanted to come on board and do strictly an NFL show or an NBA show or an MLB show or an NHL or something like that, or at least a all-sports show like the 110 Nation Sports Show. But I'm trying to situate it that we do an all-sports show, something other than race, and then work on bringing the other possibilities on whatever night they want, by having a second account set up or something to make it a little bit more diverse here at the 110 Nation. I don't want to just be locked in with all just race shows. It's one of the things I do feel bad is throughout the week here at the 110 Nation Sports Show, we were real heavy when it comes to our athletes being race car drivers, and unfortunately that's the easiest athletes to get on. I don't want to say unfortunately, but for those that would like to hear other sport athletes, we've had Carolina Hurricane, a global Harlem Globetrotter. We've had a couple other various athletes, but race car drivers and in the racing world, they're more willing to be about interviews and relate to their fans more. Other athletes are not so big on it, and it's really a shame because the reach we have, the couple 100,000 listeners across all our platforms and being syndicated over on the I-95 Sports Network and our social medias and our sites and stuff. We have a nice reach. We have a lot of listeners. We have a lot of opportunity for these athletes to gain fans and have interaction with more fans. And unfortunately, for those that are NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, and so on fans, it's not something that as I'm sending a message here. Yeah, my daggone. I hate when my caps button. I hate when I'm, more specifically, I hate it at work when they turn the caps button on. Like my caps lock button is hardly ever on. It's just every once in a while my pinky slips. But they they intentionally turn it on at work, and it drives me nuts. I hate it when it's all jumbled up and it's not correct, and you don't get to. It's not. I don't know. It just drives me nuts, and I hate having to go back and change things. A lot of times, I don't look back and see what I've typed until I'm done with it, and it's even more aggravating that I go back and look up and I see it's all caps, except for the first letters of the words that start the sentence or whatever that I intentionally try to make uppercase, and it just drives me nuts. I don't know. We got Shorty joining us here soon, and she's getting a late start on getting things accomplished at the household. Oh, my goodness. There we go. It was funny because I had I'm going to talk sports here in a second. We could be in the locker room if we got media. That's because, Mike's talking about that's because I and your race people hang out in the pits. Well, we can have we can have people in the locker room. Izzo was approved to do Carolina Hurricane games, which is what got him back there. Chris was approved to do Memphis Tigers basketball games, which would have got him through back there. And it's funny because both of these people, well, the Carolina Hurricanes, I kind of took it upon myself to try to help them up with that. And the Memphis Tigers basketball, that was what he, I was asked to have done. And unfortunately, I got both of these guys approved to go do these and could have been back there. And, hey, neither one of them take advantage, so both of them approved. It blew my mind. Like, me, as soon as I'm approved for something, you can ask Shorty. I'm all about finding a way to get there. And sometimes I probably shouldn't have spent the money to go there, but, I've managed to go there every time we've been approved for something. The only time that I've not actually been to events and I was approved for last year's Charlotte race, the only night race in the Chase. Well, it was supposed to be the only night race in the Chase. I got approved for it. I did go out to that race, that Saturday night race. I got approved for that Saturday night race and went to the race, but it rained out, and so the next day I couldn't go because I had requested the time off and made arrangements so I could have my schedule cleared to be to the race and had to work in order to have my hours, so I couldn't go back. And the same thing happened like a week or two after that race. Steve Billmeyer and myself was approved to go to the World of Outlaws race, and it got rained out. And I got all the way up there and was there at 2 o'clock when I was supposed to be there. And as a matter of fact, I think I was there at 2:30, but nothing was going on quite yet. And they said they had called it at 2 o'clock and we're going to run for the next day, which once again I had made arrangements and cleared my schedule for that date specifically. The night race, I didn't even think about it. If I would have thought about the Charlotte race, the Chase race, I would have cleared the schedule for the next day as well, just in case. Normally I do. Normally when I request, when I have media credentials, I request in case, give myself a day extra just in case it does rain on race day. But, but those are only two events I didn't get to go to, but you're right, and I'm having this conversation. But anyway, let's get back to the show. I have a really good buddy of mine. I'm big on nicknames. I don't know why. I don't know how this ever became. Honestly, I think it started started shortly after I started being called Mr. CJ Sports, but I'm not sure. But I've gotten big into nicknames. You know, a lot of people don't know Shorty's real name, unless you are a direct friend of hers or was a friend of hers before. Unless you knew her before, you were friends with her before Shorty and I had started dating, or unless your direct family don't know her real name. And that's like, unless you knew her daughter before, you don't know her daughter's real name. Her daughter's real name is Elizabeth, but her son couldn't say Elizabeth, as they're just now 4 and 5. And at the time they were 2 and 3, so he just called her B. So that's all I call her is B. And, you know, so a lot of people, sometimes it's funny when I hear her family say Elizabeth, because it takes me a second to kind of click, because I'm just so used to hearing B or saying B. And I'm the same way with my children. You know, everybody knows my daughter, for the most part. They know me as Bird. Her grandmom, I actually started that by calling her Haley Bird. And I just shortened it to Bird. If I'm not going to say Haley, I'm not going to make it longer to say Haley Bird. I just got shortened to Bird. That's like my son, you know, and I've told this story before. At my aunt's funeral, actually, or viewing a couple of years ago, my brother actually came up to me. You know, I thought it was very humorous. He came up to me and was like, "What is your son's name? I only know him as Dude." And, you know, it's one of the things that I do not like being called to. I just think that someone calls somebody Dude, it's just like you couldn't think of anything else to say. You didn't want to offend them, so you're like, Dude. But I looked at it as, that's my Dude. So he's Dude. And so a lot of people that know me do not know my son's real name. And I have finalized who is going to be my best man and who are going to be my groomsmen. And for those that don't know me personally on my personal Facebook page, I'm going to have a Stabone, a Teletubby, and a Java or long Java Monster as my best man and my groomsmen. Rather entertaining. The stories that I'll be able to tell forever on that one. Yes, Stabone, Teletubby, and Java were in my wedding. And I know people are with me. And I'm marrying Shorty, who has B as her flower girl, that Dude will be attending to. That's just, I don't know. I don't know how I swear I'm going to talk some sports here in a little bit. I don't know how I got into this, but it's one of the things that I just started giving nicknames, or, you know, people giving nicknames, and that's what I stick to. I guess it's one of the things that I just want it to be as short as possible. As a matter of fact, and Shorty, you'll be able to remind me, as we got her in the studio, who was it we was talking to the other day that, it was our neighbor.
It's funny, he came over. He came over today, and he was like, "What's up, Shorty?"
He was calling her real name the other day, and I was like, you know, this is really weird hearing someone call her by her real name. I said, you can call her Shorty. It's not going to offend. It's not like I'm thinking you're saying, "Hey, Shorty," in a, you know, like you're trying to holler at anything. I said, it's just really weird. So he just started calling her Shorty, and, you know, and Shorty was talking about how everybody else calls her Shorty, and, you know, she really don't care for her real name anyway. So I thought that was entertaining. But anyway, didn't mean to get all sidetracked on this, but I was just seeing the post that Teletubby commented on, talking about that Teletubby. He hates that I call him Teletubby. And the reason I call him Teletubby, he's a rather large guy, and he's a Baltimore Raven fan on top of that. So just naturally looking at him, I was like, hey, the purple Teletubby. I remember one year for Christmas, I came across a purple Teletubby at the thrift store for $1, and I got it for him for Christmas. He did not like that at all. And so he gets on me about calling him Teletubby all the time. But anyway, how you doing tonight, Shorty?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing rather well. Glad to be here tonight. Glad to, I don't know, at some point talk some sports. I did put in the show description so nobody can say anything. that we promise we'll behave tonight. Not really. So, one of those nights.
Promise we behave.
Yeah, I'll behave. I know it's a sports show, but it is Wednesday, and it's our Friday here. Once upon a time we extended to 5 days a week when we first got on the I-95 Sports Network, but it just got to be too strenuous for us, especially with Thursday being 2 shows at the same time. Friday, we hardly ever had guests, and there's a lot going on Friday night. Shorty was working Friday night, so we're trying to do the kid thing and do the show. And it made more sense to let Mike have a show on Friday to get asked, and just have Steve's show on Thursday, and us shorten back up to 3 days a week so we can concentrate just filming the show for 3 days a week with guests and content versus trying to stretch ourselves. And so this is kind of our Friday. So normally we're all about the sports. Normally we even have guests on Wednesday night, but this is one of those weeks that we have no guests. And we just kind of talk about whatever we want to talk. We're going to get into the sports topics as well, but we're going to talk about whatever tonight as well as we continue to do this. It's funny, and Mike listens to me as well, and he's talking about nicknames. Anybody that knows me from high school doesn't call me Mike. It's Stats from college elsewhere. It's Mike. It's funny because when you named the show Hot Laughs with Stats, at first I did not realize that that's why you called it with Stats. I just thought you just meant with stats as in numbers. And it wasn't until about a good second or third show that, actually when I saw your Twitter handle, that I realized that it was to do with your nickname versus it being about actual stats. But when you named it Hot Laughs with Stats, all right, show it's about a race show, and he's going to have stats. Like, that's just what I thought at first, and so it really kind of threw me off at first.
Did you see the comment I just posted on the gorilla in Ohio thing?
No, I've seen it.
The one I had posted, the picture I posted, and you said that at some point we'd move to Ohio.
Okay, I saw my mom was
go read it.
Came into the conversation.
I tagged you in my comment. Sorry, I just think it's fun. When you get here, I'm going to the store. By the way, so you better hurry up and get over here because I'm dying of thirst.
Enjoy the thirst. And the post that Shorty is talking about, we all know that I am from Ohio. And someone tweeted out earlier talking about just saw the gorilla thing. What kind of thoughtless, negligent parents raise their child in Ohio is where they went with that. Being from Ohio, I say us, but myself. Oh, wow. She just threw me underneath the bus. Wow. Oh, wow. I'll take that because I'm still savoring the steak and corn on the cob and fries that I just ate. Ha, 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 ha.
It's okay. I had some banging pizza today.
Banging pizza. It must not be from where you work then.
Oh, it was.
And it could have been too banging. I have never heard anybody say Domino's pizza was banging, ever.
It's because they didn't make anything on the menu. They made something else. I couldn't even taste the crust.
Yeah, you want to call that crust, that frozen garbage.
Yeah, well, that's my job, so I cannot badmouth them, or I will be fired.
There's a reason. There's a reason why Domino's took off the pizza part on their sign. It just says Domino's now. No longer says Domino's Pizza. Because all the other
because they make other things than pizza.
Well, other pizza places make other things. But they just banished. They were not allowed to have pizza on there. They can't call the garbage they put out there pizza.
Ooh. Goodness gracious. Anyway.
Ready for tomorrow night. Ready to watch the Cleveland Cavaliers go toe-to-toe with the Golden State Warriors. Game 1, NBA Finals tomorrow night.
I am. What time does it actually start?
You know what? To be 100% honest with you,
You don't know.
I had no, not at all. I know I should know. I'm assuming all the, and I'm trying to wait. My Wi-Fi is very slow here, and I'm trying to get it pulled up. But all the Cleveland games started at 8:30, so I'm assuming that at least at minimum 8:30. But I would assume 9 o'clock with it being Golden State, being home, and it being a little, it being out west. I'm hoping somewhere around 9:30. That way, when we strong arm the TV at 10 o'clock, because my roommates watch wrestling until 10 o'clock, and of course I'm on the Racing with Big Sweats until 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, not 10. That makes any difference because I produced it and not actually on it. I don't actually have to. I can watch the game at the same time, but they got it locked up till 10 o'clock watching wrestling. So I'm hoping that it will be a later game than the 8:30. That way, by 10 o'clock, we might miss a quarter to a quarter and a half and be able to enjoy the rest of the game tomorrow night. As 9 o'clock is the coverage time, so I'm assuming the tip-off is going to be somewhere around 9:50-ish, maybe 9:30 at the latest. But it does not end, so I'm assuming that's the coverage time, not actual tip time. Somewhere around 9 o'clock, though.
It's super exciting.
It is, and it's kind of been there's only been 2 topics of conversation today outside of the Waffle House screwing you and Bank of America, BB&T screwing me. Outside of that, there's only been 2 topics of conversation that work. The build-up for tomorrow night's game is everybody knows I'm a Cleveland fan where I work at, especially the customers. And so that's been the topic of conversation, and of course the whole Gorilla thing still being a topic of conversation at work. But there's a lot of people, that are feeling really confident about the Cleveland Cavaliers champ. And like I said before,
really, because from where I'm looking, there are only 6 people out of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, shoot. Out of 28 people, only 6 people are on this website right here are predicting Cleveland to pull us out. Most of
I know a lot of people.
Most of them predict 6 to 7 games, but they all have Golden State to win.
I know a lot of people that come into my work. They are feeling real confident about Cleveland's chance, and there's a lot of people feeling this is Cleveland's year. Like I tell everybody, I think that Cleveland has got to play just about as perfect as you can play a game in order for them to win this. And I don't think Golden State has to play perfect, but they definitely got to play better than they did against OKC in order to beat Cleveland. It's going to be an interesting series either way it goes, and I'm glad to see we're going to have full strength, healthy teams. No excuses. This is mano a mano. Let's duke it out. Let's see what happens. And the only person I think that I feel bad for, especially if Cleveland wins, is the fact that Anderson Baraja was on the Cavaliers last year and then they lost. And, of course, he was out with his injury anyway. And then he gets dropped this year, starts off, and he's the only player to play for both teams in the same season that's in the NBA Finals since he started off with Cleveland and then got dropped and Golden State picked him up. Now they're in the Finals. He's the only player in NBA history to do that. But if he ends up, Golden State ends up losing, how you spend all those years and being the backbone of the Cleveland Cavaliers, you get dropped, finally get an opportunity to be on a team that's the returning champs that beat the Cleveland Cavaliers last year. and you get beat this year by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I would feel sorry for him, and I would wonder how long the contract is if it's just a one-year contract, and if so, would Cleveland pick him back up, or would he be willing to go back to the Cleveland Cavaliers? I would be very curious about that. I think that he'll definitely be one of those players that would sign back on his last contract to retire as a Cavalier. But I don't wonder if he'll go back and play with the Cavaliers, or if the Cavaliers would invest. I think they realized that they should have kept him and got rid of Mozgov, but that's not the route they went. So I'm curious what they'll do in this offseason, and if there's a chance.
It is definitely something to watch. I mean,
in racing news, and I just saw this, and I'm sure Mike's going to have a comment or two about this, but Richard Petty Motorsports halts Xfinity team citing missed payment. Jeff Burton was without a ride in the Xfinity Series. Richard Petty Motorsports announced that it had suspended its number 43 Xfinity Series team because of financial issues and missed payments by its team sponsor, Jay Stretcher. Burton, who competed for part of the 2015 season in the Sprint Cup Series, joined the team before the beginning of the season, had planned to run for the Xfinity Series title. This is an unfortunate situation. RPM CEO Brian Moffitt said in a statement, we make commitments to both our employees and vendors that are based on sponsored commitments, and we take those commitments seriously. We will pursue every avenue to ensure that the contractual obligations between RPM and our sponsors are met. We'll take each week as it comes and do our best to get the number 43 Ford Mustang on track as much as possible this season. Jeff Burton tweeted out, devastated that I won't be able to continue the season as planned and heartbroken for my team. I'm grateful for RPM for their commitment to me and remain hopeful that we can work through this issue with funding and get back on the track soon. According to J.D. Stretcher's website, the company's objective is to be the D&M designated market maker of choice for the world's leading listed companies on both the NSYE, the New York Stock Exchange, and the New York Stock Exchange Amex. This dual membership enables our mid-sized clients to seamlessly transition as their businesses grow and evolve. This is probably not the evolution that RPM had in mind for the Xfinity team. Burton, the son of Ward Burton, and nephew of Jeff, had one top 10 finish and 11 starts this season. Obviously, a devastating hit to Richard Petty Motorsports and to Jeff Burton. Do I sympathize? I sympathize for Jeff Burton. To me, he's kind of the innocent piece into this. I'm under the assumption that when you commit to being a sponsor, you sign a contract and you pay that money up front, and that's all forwarded. I guess that's not how things are done. I would assume that they would have got, especially the money you're talking about here, that type of money, that you would get that money up front and make sure that everything is paid in full before you commit to so many races and everything else. The company, I don't know much of the company, so I can't really comment on it, but I will comment on Richard Petty Motorsports. To me, it's really hard for me to wrap my mind around how one of the most successful drivers, 200 wins, 7 championships, technically the most, I might say one of the most successful driver in all of NASCAR history. How are you unable to lock in full-time sponsors in any program that you decide to put your cars in? And why do you have to settle for mediocre drivers? I've never understood that. To me, Petty's name, Richard, Kyle, I don't even want to get into the nonsense that comes out of Kyle Petty's mouth. I think most of the time he just says stuff just to make himself feel relevant in the NASCAR world. But being Richard Petty, the king of NASCAR, I have never understood why it has been so difficult for them to hold on to sponsors, why they even had to combine forces with Everham Racing at one point in time, and why you cannot get star names. I understand that sponsorship plays into the factor, but it's Richard Petty. Exactly. Mike, if you're the Petty family, how do you forward anything? I just don't understand how, if you are a Petty name, how you are not able to have the combination of Petty plus any top driver, especially in the Sprint Cup Series, and the sponsor all go together. I mean, if Earnhardt can have a sponsor locked in for any team that he ever decides to drive for, Danica, who's never won a race, is able to lock in a sponsor for every single race that she is in. How does Richard Petty Motorsports, how are you unable to lock in sponsors that are able to put top-notch drivers? This is the reason why this program is stuck where it's at. This is the reason why the program at one point in time had to have help and have an investor into it. There's a reason why they're stuck where they are. You have drivers like Eric Amarello. You have Brian Scott. And that's only because his father is a sponsor of the company that's on his car. There's a reason why there's Marcus Ambrose. Didn't they have AJ Allmendinger as well? And you might be able to tell me more names that we could throw out there that drove Richard Petty Motorsports, right? But that's the reason why Richard Petty Motorsports has been stuck being a 15th to 20th at best place team in the point. Yeah, Eric Amarello got into the chase a couple years ago. He won a race, shortened race. Shorty and I was there at the Coca-Cola 400, or the Coke Zero 400. And honestly, if it wouldn't have been race short, I don't think he would have won that. Danica was in top 5 all day long, one of the strongest cars left outside the big one, and she was even a strong car then. I think, honestly, if that race went full distance, there's a good chance she could have won that race. She was one of the top 5, like I said, top 5 cars as it was before the big one. And the big one eliminated a lot of those front runners and left Eric Amarello out front. I don't understand with the name, the backing, why Richard Petty Motorsports does not swing for the fences, get a legitimate driver in his car that can bring in legitimate sponsors, maybe just focus on one car for a while. If you need two, if you want to focus on two, that's fine. But swing for the fences. Quit settling for mediocre drivers that land you mediocre sponsorships, that land you mediocre finishes. It just blows my mind that the most successful driver and the biggest name to ever walk the face of NASCAR, Richard Petty, that's all you can manage to muster up is mediocre everything. I don't get it. There's no reason that you do not have one of the top drivers in NASCAR. There's not a reason you don't have top sponsor. Granted, you got Smithfield, and they've been a really dedicated sponsor in your program, but it obviously is not enough of a sponsor. It's not not enough of a sponsor to land you top-notch drivers. AJ Allmendinger won a road course race for them, walking Flynn, and I couldn't remember if that's who he ran for. I know AJ Allmendinger won with the 47 machine with JR Daugherty or whatever the team he runs for now. I couldn't remember if he won one before, but there's 2 races as far back as I can remember for Richard Petty Motorsports that I could ever recall. And I think John Andretti put the 43 machine in victory lane at one point in time as well. I can't remember. It seems like there was another win in there. But there's a reason why this program is mediocre. It's because you put mediocre drivers into a team, drive for a team that should have top-notch drivers. That'd be like Rick Hendrick saying, you know what, we're going to settle for mediocre drivers. Then they would have mediocre results. There's a reason why him. There's a reason why Stuart Haas. There's a reason why Joe. I mean, look how aggressive Joe Gibbs Racing was, going after that kid, going after Carl Edwards, back in the day, going after Kyle Busch, putting what is now probably the best foursome that we've ever seen in NASCAR on a team period together. I mean, Shorty, either one of y'all, can y'all think of a better foursome than what Joe Gibbs Racing has right now? The foursome that they have, can we, even a threesome, can you name a threesome that was any better. I'm sorry, but when maybe no,
not in
because
racing.
when
I mean, you're taking that completely the wrong direction. That you were taking that way wrong.
Let's say we were promised to be somewhat good tonight. I think that maybe that the closest we might come is 3 out of 4 in Hendrick Motorsports, and I don't even know if we can consider that threesome out of the 4 that good, and that's with Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Dale Jr., because before Dale and the 88 team turned things around, Gordon was still good and Jimmy Johnson was good. Then when the 88 team finally got things turned around, even though Jeff Gordon was in the running for the chase last year, that was because Matt Kenseth took out Joey Logano, who should have won that race in Martinsville, which then would have eliminated Jeff Gordon out of the chase, but he won that race and put it into the Final Four. When the 88 team got hot, the 2014 fell off the face of the earth. So I can't think of a foursome or even a threesome of drivers on a team that has ever been as good as what Joe Gibbs Racing has in this stable right now. Could you any of y'all imagine? I think let me think about it. Maybe the duo, and this is because it's a duo versus a threesome. I think it's a lot harder when you talk about 3 drivers and even the 4 drivers like Gibbs Racing. I would put Joey Logano and Keselowski, what they've done the last couple of years, up there as a great team, and they've worked really great together. They've had a lot of great finishes. A championship would really put that into this conversation. But like I said, also, that's just a duo, not a threesome or a foursome there. But I couldn't Andretti and Petty teaming up, and they failed. I couldn't imagine Joe Gibbs Racing or Penske or Hendrick Motorsports settling for mediocre drivers. And so, they put drivers in and they ain't worked. We talk about Casey Mears. We could talk about Brian Vickers. I mean, they were kind of mediocre drivers. That was, what they put into Hendrick Motorsports back in the day. J.J. Yeley, that wasn't even mediocre. That was just straight up joke that J.J. Yeley ever had a ride. I'm trying to think of other drivers that, Penske had, didn't Penske have A.J. Allmendinger in the car? Wasn't that the team he was with at the time over at Penske? Yeah, as a matter of fact, he was over at Penske when he got ganked out for failing the drug test. As a matter of fact, that happened at one of the Coke 0400s I was at. That was the race he got ganked out of the Penske car and got put on suspension because of his drug test. I just couldn't imagine, especially in this generation. Maybe, in the past they've kind of tinkered with some names, and yes, they've not always had, the top-notch program that they have. But this last, let's say 2 to 4 years at worst, I could not imagine any of these top-notch teams settling for a mediocre driver, and that's what separates Penske, Joe Gibbs Racing, Hendrick Motorsports from your Richard Petty Motorsports. Richard Petty Motorsports has been settling for so long on mediocrity, mediocre drivers, mediocre sponsors, mediocre programs. At some point, if Richard Petty Motorsports truly, honestly, ever wants to win a championship, he has got to swing for the fences. He's got to get rid of the Brian Scott. He's got to get rid of the Eric Amarellas. He has got to find a big name, a successful name, one that not only is going to be successful on the track, but is going to bring you sponsors. And until then, Richard Petty Motorsports is never going to be more than a conversation piece, and that's really it. Never going to be a championship contention team, a serious threat of winning multiple races. Like I said, most of the races that they have won is either the road course race or a rain shortened race. And anybody can throw a road course specialist in it and let them go. And that's ultimately what A.J. Allmendinger is kind of a road course specialist. Yes, he's not a ringer, and he performs in the other tracks. But the only track we really ever think that A.J. Allmendinger is really ever going to win is a road course race. But it just blows my mind. I mean, I couldn't imagine Dale Sr. being alive today and being in charge and DI still being around. And Dale Sr. putting mediocre drivers in his car. Just like I couldn't imagine if Dale Jr. at some point, which I think honestly will happen at some point, at least fields one car in the Sprint Cup Series with Junior Motorsports, if not more than one. I could not imagine him just settling for a mediocre driver. I really expect him to put a top driver in it. I expect top sponsors in it. And I honestly plan it to be one of the things that starts off the first year or two as a one-car program and then eventually work its way, being a pilot, a satellite team of Hendrick Motorsports, of course, but working its way up, eventually being a 2 or 3 car program. But I wouldn't expect with that name and the backing for it to be mediocre or anything. And I just never understood why Richard Petty, especially the weight behind that name. There's only two numbers, and I know that NASCAR does not retire numbers, especially the limited numbers they got. But in the conversation of numbers to be retired, there's 2 numbers and only 2 numbers that I feel ever have deserved to be retired, and it would not hurt my feelings if they were retired. There's still going to be 97, 98, 99, 100, 106 numbers, because you can have double 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, all the way up to 0, 9. So I think you can have still have 108 numbers or so, or 107 numbers, maybe 108. Actually, probably 109, because you can still have a 0 car as well. If you retire those 2 numbers, so there's still plenty of opportunity for there to be plenty of numbers, and that's the 43 car. I just feel that what Richard Petty meant to the sport and the records that he accomplished, 200 victories, 7 championships, everything that he has done for the sport, that number deserves to be retired. And the number 3, what Dale Sr. has meant to the sport, what he still means to the sport, how his death has changed the sport. I feel that, and I am not by any stretch of the imagination a Dale Jr. or Dale Sr. fan. I do not care for Dale Jr., but I do feel and have the respect for Dale Sr. that I believe that number should be retired too. Those are 2 numbers I feel that these team owners should not have to pay for, that they should be retired, put to the side, be part of the Hall of Fame, and that may be the end of the discussion. What you over there, Chuck, on that?
Because a Texas man is raising eyebrows over the way he paid for his speeding ticket. Instead of writing a check, he went to the bank, took out all the money for the speeding ticket in pennies, busted them all up, and then dumped the pennies on the counter at the clerk of court office to pay for his speeding ticket.
I should have done that with my seatbelt ticket.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Question came in. You mean to tell me Richard Petty couldn't put a young, promising Xfinity Series driver in a car? One, it's hit and miss on that. There's a lot of promising Xfinity Series drivers, but no, you don't know. But to answer that in all seriousness, I would not have a problem with it if at the same time you already had your primary, your number 1 car filled with a big thing. If they had already put, let's say they would have been aggressive and went and got Kyle Larson. I wouldn't have a problem having Kyle Larson and a veteran driver that has experience, that is a household name already. I just feel that, just like this offseason when we knew that Clint Boyer, I'm not swinging for the fence. I'm not saying Clint Boyer is going to win you a championship, but Clint Boyer is going to bring you sponsorship. Is going to bring you big name sponsorship. Clint Boyer can win races. And given the right opportunity and the right team, there's a chance that Clint Boyer could win a championship. He was over at RCR, and he was kind of the left wheels. You had Jeff Burton, you had Kevin Harvick, you had other names. So, he was just in the 07 car. Nobody, it was Clint Boyer. Then he went to Michael Waltrip Racing, and that program just never was to the point to be a championship-ending team. Now he's over there at H. Scott Racing. Yes, there's a chance next year that we're going to see, Clint Boyer be able to show finally his true talent. But he's a great spokesperson. He's very entertaining to listen to. Sponsors love him to death. He's very, to me, he's like Michael Waltrip. Your sponsors just fall in love. Michael Waltrip, and I love telling this story, Michael Waltrip is one of those times that he can have a conversation with all his sponsors in it and still be part of the conversation. Just like when I worked at a local pizza place, we didn't sell broccoli. We didn't have broccoli in the store. So that was our code word. Anytime that a hot female either walked in or walked by the windows, we had a storefront, setting, so we had, nothing but glass windows in the front. If anybody said broccoli, everybody knew to look out the window or at the front door. And so one day I'm sitting there talking, broccoli, talking to an old lady, just like that. I threw the word broccoli in the middle. How many people paid attention to that? But I threw the word broccoli in it, just like it was part of the conversation. Everybody that worked there, their eyes all turned to the direction of the front door and was looking to see what I yelled. I said broccoli about. The lady that I was talking to that was in her 60s, 70s, however she was, she had no idea I threw the word broccoli in it, had no idea that word didn't even belong in the sentence, and me and her continued having our conversation. That's the way Michael Waltrip is. That man can have a conversation, do an interview, whatever. Someone wins 20 sponsors, and you don't even realize that he's even dropping all his sponsors in front of you. You just feel as part of the conversation. And Clint Boyer is another one of those that you get so wrapped up in how entertaining he is to listen to talk that you don't even pay attention to the fact that he's dropping sponsor after sponsor in front of your face. You're just all wrapped up into it. Now, in the right program, yes, I feel Clint Boyer probably could win a championship. I believe he's an excellent driver. I feel that he's an excellent driver. I just believe that he's going to have the opportunity. I just feel if you get an up-and-promising driver in the Xfinity Series, I'm trying to think what names I would even want to throw out there. Even Jeff Burton is not a bad name. If he was in the Sprint Cup here, say he was ready to go up, you throw Jeff Burton with a veteran driver and be aggressive with somebody that's about to be out of their contract, such as, if Kevin Harvick wouldn't have re-signed with Supercross, if they would have been aggressive and went after him. Now, obviously, Kevin Harvick's not going to go to Richard Petty Motorsports because he's going to leave Stuart Haas. He's going to go to a Chevy team. He's not going to go to another Ford team. But, I'm trying to think off the top of my head who I would throw out there as somebody in either in the Xfinity Series. I mean, outside of Jeff Burton, that I feel is a good name to when you're talking about up-and-coming Xfinity drivers that I would throw in there. Blah, 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 blah. Maybe a Brandon Jones. Maybe a Brendan Poole. Definitely Jeff Burton, Daniel Suarez, even though he's going to stay Joe Gibbs Racing. Ryan Blaney. Or not Ryan Blaney. He's already at 50. I was thinking of, God, who was I thinking of? I was thinking of Reed. Where's he at? Ryan Reed, Roush Racing. Someone else I might throw out there. Darrell Wallace, maybe. I don't know, Eric Jones. I don't think he's leaving Joe Gibbs Racing, but honestly, if I was Richard Petty Motorsports, it would probably have to be Eric Jones. It would probably have to be Daniel Suarez, maybe Jeff Burton, maybe Brandon Jones. Line those up with a big name that's going to bring you sponsors. You don't have to sweat the sponsorship as hard with the up-and-coming driver, which should still get a sponsor because it's a big up-and-coming star name, and then run with it. That way you got a veteran, you got someone learning, you got your program moving in the right direction. Eventually, at some point, that veteran's going to either move on or retire. Your up-and-coming driver will then fill the veteran role, and then you can cherry-pick your next up-and-coming star and work that way. And instead, it's like a never-ending carousel with just mediocre drivers. You go from Marcus Ambrose to, even Chris Buescher. I wouldn't have a problem. Last year's Xfinity Series champion. Go after him. You should have put him in your second car versus Brian Scott. And like I said, I understand they had to do with sponsorship, and Brian Scott comes with his own sponsor. But you threw Chris Buescher in there. Then you work on getting your primary driver to be better instead of mediocre, such as Eric Emeraux. And I don't think anything from Eric Emeraux. I think he has hit his ceiling. He's had a decent career, but I think that's all we really expected out of Eric Emeraux. I don't even think we honestly expected him to win a race. And like I said, it would have been for the rain-shortened race, the Coke 0400. He probably never will win a race. And that's probably going to be his only win. But you throw Chris Buescher with an experienced driver, give Chris Buescher, the right equipment. Unfortunately, he's stuck where he's at and just now doesn't have the equipment. You can start turning Richard Petty Motorsports around. I guess the biggest part that gets me is how is it so hard to make a big name to come drive? I just would say if you have no alliance, in other words, you're not an Earnhardt by name. You're expected, to do certain things, or you're not buddies and grew up and you've been best friends with Tony Stewart like Kevin Harvick. Those things, those alignments kind of align themselves. But if you don't have any alliance, I just don't see why he's not found something. I'm sorry, but if I'm an up-and-coming driver or a star already, and I'm looking for my next ride, I just couldn't see not wanting to drive for the king, other than the fact that he's just been mediocre, has mediocre sponsors, and has not made his program top-notch. But, I just couldn't say to myself, you know what, that's the king, and I just think that drivers would want to follow themselves to drive for the king. And you get that right driver that gives you the right sponsors that they can up the program. And I just, like I said, that's one of the things I just don't understand. Like, I don't get it.
It's because you're not meant to get everything.
You're right.
I know I'm right.
All right.
I know. Like me, I'm not meant to get everything either. Like any of what you just said. Let's talk about basketball.
We're talking about basketball.
No, I did not sing about basketball.
We're playing basketball. I mean, it's like
why.
the Dildo Boys. This is
What?
what? I say just like the Dildo Boys. I mean, they're expected to go run for their grandfather, Richard Childress. But like I said, there's certain alignments that are expected to happen, and we don't expect any variation. An update on the Game 2 of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Pittsburgh is up 1-0 on San Jose. They are up on the series 1-0 with that 3-2 win. On Monday night, they are up 1-0 at the end of the second right now. Keep you guys updated on what's going on in the NHL.
This is that right there. What when you're singing and whatnot, and you're laughing at yourself. That right there is why parents should not be negligent. Yes, negligent, not whatever you said. And raise your children in Ohio. All those negligent parents out there. Because then they turn out like you. Huh?
Yeah, I'm so lost.
Never mind. Well, I was about to say that's why.
We're playing basketball. We've already hit the halfway point. Since we're at the halfway point, I want to make sure that I thank our sponsors. I got to thank Snafu Seasoning. As I found out the hard way that I guess they've not re-upped their site, so I can't promote SnafuSeasoning.com right now. As a matter of fact, I need to talk to Steve about that and see if maybe they just changed their address or whatever the case may be. But make sure you guys check out the Thursday night show. They are the official sponsor of Racing with Big Sweat, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Steve likes to give out bottles of Snafu seasoning for those that call in and participate in the show. So make sure you guys check that out. Also, got to thank Fit for Life. You guys check them out on Facebook, Fit for Life. You guys can also check them out at www.fitforlife.com. Get your gym on 24/7, 365, like Shorty and I do. Accessibility anytime we want to go. Unfortunately, both life and kids and 110 and work and life. We've only been once in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But anyway, it's accessible. We can go anytime we want. It's just hard to get there. And I say that we're like maybe 5 minutes up the road from it. But 24/7, 365, good cleaning facility, got everything you need. Make sure you guys check them out. Fit for Life. We're playing basketball. Don't have to put that phone fucking now. I don't even care for that ball.
Yeah, I don't know why you're saying that either. I might be leaving now. I just looked over, a neighbor was on his porch. Hopefully his brother is not in the car right here pulling up, or he had to go home or go inside and go to bed. Hopefully he'll be nice before he's on our porch. I am going to die of thirst.
You're going to die of thirst.
Yes. Like, I am so thirsty right now.
Thirsty. Well, you only got an hour left of the 110 Nation Sports Show. And then you can go get a drink.
That's what I'm saying. If he tells me yes, then he's going to come over here, and I'm going to go there.
I'm playing basketball. What did I click on?
I don't know. What did you click on?
I don't know. I didn't think I clicked on anything.
Teletubby says he needs to have his number.
That's what I was clicking on with the I jump on that thread and tell them I will send it to them after the show. But the show ends at 11 o'clock, and I can send that to them after the show. As I'm trying to pull this up, I want to give our Friday night host an opportunity to jump on here and tell us what's going on Friday night, how and where he can be found on Facebook and Twitter, while I'm pulling up some other things that I wanted to talk about that I think we shared on the 110 Nation fan page earlier today. So while I'm doing that, Mike, 1, how are you doing tonight? And 2, what you got going on Friday night?
How you doing, CJ? Okay, Friday night we got an interesting show. We got 2 people from the 11X Figure 8 team, Tammy Ferrara, the driver, and his crew chief, Rick Swanson. And we're going to be going into more or less a Figure 8 history from the back in the day. Rick has been a Figure 8 driver, and he's also crew chief now. And he knows a lot about the history going back to Islip Speedway as far as Long Island. And then in the 9 to 10 hour, we have Roger Oxy, who is a late model driver who is in his supposedly last year of competition. And he's won a couple of titles, and he obviously is interested in locking up another one. before he retires, but we don't even know if he's going to officially retire because he's supposedly done that for a few seasons and came back with a new car, so who knows? But we'll be talking to Roger. And I've also locked up somebody for next week already. Dennis Krupski, who is Jack Hanley's crew chief with the Dornibus car, and then also is running a at Riverhead. And also I'd like to see if I can start in the next 2 weeks or so taping some segments, because we have some interesting people that can't be on the live show on Friday, and we'll probably, with CJ's help, I'll be taping some segments. I would say within the next month. It looks like, and getting some people on that generally compete at Stafford on Friday night. That's the difficulty. And also Riverhead on Saturday. I had sent CJ a video. I don't know if he got a chance to see it, but it's up on my page as well, if you'd like to look at it. There was a photo finish in the mod race last week, and Sean Salamito is now 2-0 at Riverhead, and I wanted to have him on, but he's running Stafford this Friday. So we couldn't have him on this Friday, and he might, because he's on the tour, he might be running Stafford more often also. So that's a candidate for a taping, for a tape segment. But as for this Friday, and next Friday rather, I'd like to get Dennis on, and then possibly with Dennis, Jack. We'll see what happens next Friday. Jack had plans for Friday night, so he couldn't join us this week. But that's next Friday. One set of guests already appear to be locked in. But this Friday, we have Rick and Tommy Ferrara, and then Roger Oxy, so it should be another interesting show. And hopefully you'll be able to join us. And we have one of the things I'm going to talk about after that is I'll be getting in touch with somebody to see what happens on other tracks, and then announcing it on the following week, so that guys know what's coming on the Connecticut tracks also as well. If you're a person that can travel and spend your weekend, there are some drivers, like the driver we had on last week. I wasn't able to reach him yet. I'll get to him. Kirk Waterford last week. So it should be another interesting show, Brian. I hope you can join us.
Now, I got a question for you, and I've been wanting to ask this a few times now. When I was growing up, went to 2 tracks growing up. One was Killcare, one was Shady Bowl. Friday night was Killcare. Saturday night was Shady Bowl. They're asphalt tracks, and they were in the Columbus, Ohio area. And I remember specifically Killcare. I don't really remember much about Shady Bowl. I think we didn't go to Shady Bowl as much. But they had, what I'm assuming you're talking about, when you're talking about the figure eight, and basically they would go through the infield, kind of come up in turn 1, go through the turn to turn 2, come back down through the infield, and then come out turn 4, make a right-hand turn to turn 3, come back through the infield. And I'm assuming that's the same thing you were talking about. And they basically do a figure 8 which as a kid was cool to watch because at some point you get to the point where cars are crossing in the middle of the infield at the same time, which could lead to a hard wreck.
Well, that's exactly what figure eight racing is.
My question is, with sport going to be in the safe as it is, and trying to worry about safety, how does this form of racing even still exist? Because that is probably the most dangerous form of racing at this point, is essentially having these cars cross in the middle of the infield.
Well, if I remember correctly, I might be a little off on this. I'll check with Rick during the show Friday night. He would know. I think Larry Mendelson started it at Eisler, who was a prior owner to the comedies, or a promoter at least. And I think he was the one that started it on Long Island. And if you remember, I don't know how long following but the figure eight race, the World Championship figure eight race, MISA Speedway used to be on Wide World of Sports all the time. And the thing about that, believe it or not, the danger of it, and we had I was talking to Tommy Rogers also, who's the defending figure eight champ. I think we had him on the last week that I was on Steve's program, and he was talking about the tricky nature, what makes figure eight racing, I guess, exciting, if you want to call it that, is the idea of the lead driver timing his way through the X. Because what usually happens, they call it the X, which is right where you're talking about, in the middle of the track like that. What tends to happen if the cars get bottled up and caught in traffic, like on an oval, the rear cars, the rear of the field, ends up getting to the X at the same time the leader is, as far as at the intersection. So it's up to the leader to have to put his brakes on and time his way through before the back of the pack has to cross. And that's, I guess, one of the drawing cards for the fans of figure eight racing. And if you've ever seen it in person, you'd understand that. I'm trying to help you learn also. Is that's what happens. There's a lot more braking than you find in oval track racing, as far as each time through, each lap through. If you don't lead, and the hope is, I remember talking to Tommy in the pits. The hope is when you're leading that you're way out in front. And the only time that you're hoping for a caution is if something happens behind you. You don't want a caution. You just want to go through. But then what happens is you get through and you're leading, and if they don't throw the caution, then where the accident occurred or where the cars got bound up, you get caught anyway. So I know there's been a lot of situations where Tommy's been leading a race and said, "Oh, I got this pretty much," but then somebody will get into a tangle behind him, and by the time he's ready to come back around again, because like you say, it's faster than an oval because you're going through the infield so many times, that's when you can get caught up. And so, that's one of the reasons he told me a long time ago, when we were discussing this, that the best place to be is leading, because then everything else happens behind you, and by the time they throw the yellow, or in some cases, if it's really serious, the red, where everybody has to shut down, then it becomes in front of you. Then but that's that's the safest way to be, is in the lead. Otherwise, if you're caught in the pack, it could get dangerous.
I don't know, just in a sport that has, gone in the direction, like I said, when I watched this, you're talking about 30 years ago. This is before NASCAR got as serious, and really the whole racing world got as serious as they've gotten about safety when it comes to racing. And so when you guys had a guest on, I wanted to say you guys had a guest on Steve's show was first talking about the figure eight. If I remember correctly, I believe it was the first one.
It was Tommy Rogers, because he won the modified and the figure eight last division. Excuse me. Division both. And that's the night. He was kidding me. He says, "Oh, you'll teach me something tonight," And because he didn't know as much about the figure eight racing, he let me take pretty much his time. And so at the end of the interview, I said to him, "Steve, do you have any questions?" And he basically asked me the same question you're asking: is how do you get through the exit, the middle, so many times. And there's more, like I said, there's more braking, and there's more of watching, like normal road driving at an intersection. You always have to be careful, but you have stop signs. On a racetrack, you have to instinctively when you can get through and when you can, when you need to brake, and that's part of the question on the block.
I don't know. It just blows my mind that all the direction they went to make the sport safer and safer and safer. Yet you have a particular type of racing that involves cars crossing paths at an intersection, and you have to understand they're trying their hardest to avoid each other, braking involved. But I don't know. That's just I don't know. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, but that's got to take some real kahunas to be out there and that.
Well, we have to ask Rick about that because he drove a car and he also works on cars. So he works on figure eight cars. So that'd be a question for Rick. We can ask him Friday night. But
if those that are out there listening are still kind of confused and trying to visualize this, just visualizing cars doing a figure eight on a track, but it's the they cross the track, but they intersect at full speed. Go ahead, Shorty.
Hello. Am I on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If anybody's ever seen the movie, shoot. Now I completely forgot what the movie was. The one where a song. Oh, I can't remember the name of the movie now.
You were all quick to jump in and you forgot everything.
I know. I forgot the movie name. They just remade this movie. It's where
that ain't helping none. They've remade about every
where they ban dancing in the community.
Footloose.
Footloose, yeah, it's Footloose. In the movie Footloose. At least I know the new one. They did the. Huh?
Band of Nights, the next one? No, it wasn't. It was just a newer one.
No,
but I know what you're talking about. They do the figure eight with the buses.
Yeah, it was just it was the first one just remade.
That's cool.
Well, Mike, did you? I don't remember. I can't remember now.
He was trying to talk, but he's breaking up.
Did you put the? Did you post the Facebook and the Twitter out there?
Yes, I'll mention that now. I have my personal page, and then also check out the Hot with Stats fan page. I put something up there today, advertising Friday night. So drop in there and take a look at it, and give me your suggestions for any future guests. Like I always say, keep it G-rated. That's the only condition of giving me suggestions. But I'm looking forward to hearing from people. And again, like the page and suggest, and I'll do my best to book the individual you want to see. Again, with tracks in the East, and also guys in the Whalen Modified Tour that have 2 dates up to now. I haven't looked this year. I think there's going to be 2 dates again. Up to this year, they've always had 2 stops at Long Island, on Long Island at Riverhead. But I also know people from there that we could have on if you're interested in seeing. And some of those guys also run Connecticut. Jimmy Blewett, who we had on last week, also has run mainly in the Wall Stadium in Jersey. He runs the tour. Both Salamitos, 2 of the 3, run the tour. And so, anybody that you're interested in seeing or hearing on the program, suggest them, and I will do my best to book them. And I look forward to hearing from the fans and seeing, what they think of, what you guys think of the program, and I certainly hope you enjoy it. Enjoy it every week and become a regular listener and a regular poster on the fan page. And while you're at it, also post on the 110 Nation page, the 110 Nation page. And he'll definitely get guests on his program, our program, and a mixture of all the programs, I guess. You would try to get anybody that anybody wants from any sport, any particular sport. So so that'll be interesting Friday night, and I'll make a note to ask Rick about that crossing at the X. Definitely, because that's the second time that's come up. Steve brought the same thing up with Tommy Rogers, so we'll see what he has to say about it on Friday night.
Well, Mike, I definitely want to thank you for jumping on here and talking with us a little bit. Definitely looking towards Friday night show. And for those that have not listened to a Friday night show, make sure you guys tune in. He's always got great guests, always an interesting topic, and always a fun conversation. So make sure you guys tune in Friday night. I also want to thank you for always hanging out the shows and kind of being our statistician and helping what needs to be helped. So you enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you for everything you do, Mike.
No problem. I appreciate helping you guys out. And now at least you know where I got my nickname from.
There you go.
You take care.
You too. Hey, and that's Mike Farrakhan, the host of Hot Laps with Stats, Friday night, 8 p.m. Make sure you guys check that out. And for the reason I laugh, for those that don't know, when he said 110 Nation and he said the 110 Nation, Mike would send his show descriptions or say stuff, and he'd always put 110 Nation. He would never put the. And for those that are new to the 110 Nation, there's a reason why there is a stuff. And, I don't try to sound petty with it, but there's a reason behind it. And the the reason is one of the reasons I have the passion that I do for sports. There's a reason. The reason why I am so involved with the sports, and one of the reasons is I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan. I follow the Ohio State Buckeyes. There's a reason why they are the Ohio State Buckeyes, and not every school has the, however you want to pronounce it, in front of their name. They kind of distinguish themselves different for having that in their name, the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I wanted to follow in the footsteps of a program, one, that I grew up loving and inspired me to love sports as much as I do, but also it inspired me to want us to be different, not to be the same as ESPN or Fox Sports or even Bleacher Report, Rand Sports, or it keeps continuing down to whatever level we eventually make it to. I wanted us to be distinguished different than any other company out there, just like the Ohio State University is distinguishing themselves different from any other college out there. And for me to be an Ohio State fan and know how it inspired me to love the sport, the sports that I do, and inspire me to be as dedicated to sports as I am, that's why it is such an important part. Plus, it's also part of the company name, where the 110 Nation LLC, I mean, that's just part of it as well. But, and it's the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. It's the 110 Nation Sports Show. And as a matter of fact, on our Twitter handle, it's at 110 Nation. I've contemplated of changing it to make it say at the 110 Nation. The only reason I've not changed it, because I know it's been brought up before, is I'm afraid if I change it, we have certain things that are linked together that if I publish, like for instance, if I publish an article on our site, it automatically gets tweeted. And so I don't have to go through the process of doing it myself. We have programs that automatically does it for us. If I change the Twitter handle, then that means I got to go back and reset everything to the new Twitter handle. And that, honestly, that is the main reason that I have not changed anything. I wish when I renamed our fan page, because we used to have 110 Nation Sports and 110 Nation Sports Radio. When I named it, I wish I would have put the 110 Nation Sports. But since it wasn't the 110 Nation LLC at the time, we just labeled it as 110. I don't even know if I even set up the original fan page, to be honest with you. Miss Brandy might have set that up, and that might be why it was that. But the reason it was never changed is just because then it went, I don't know if the 110 Nation Sports would have sounded right. It either had to be 110 Nation Sports or the 110 Nation. And so that's kind of why it was left that way and never changed. But I like I said, I've contemplated a few times of changing the Twitter handle to make it say the 110 Nation. The only reason is I don't want to. Some things are pain in the butt to go back and change. Some things I got to. It's just like it used to be that anything we put on Facebook, it automatically turned into a tweet as well. So we were having that's one of the reasons why we have so many tweets. And they keep that on and publish a tweet automatically. Anything we put on Facebook, it automatically got tweeted. For some reason, Facebook, that connection doesn't work anymore, and I can't figure out, and I've played with it for a couple of days, how to redo things. It says it's connected, but it's not tweeting, and I'm not exactly sure. I don't know, because Facebook changed, or we might use Twitter handle at one point in time. It might have been something else. I don't remember. Because we all weren't just at 110 Nation. It might have been something else. I think it might have been 110 Nation Sports or 110 Nation Sports Talk or something. I forget. So I can't figure it out because that was like 3 years ago when it was all connected, or 2 years ago. And I think we've changed the Twitter handle once. And then since I did it that time, I didn't want to go back through the whole process since we relinked everything, and I knew how much of a hassle it was. But that is the only reason that is not in front of at 110 or in front of 110 Nation on our Twitter handle. That is the only reason. But that's why I laughed, is because Mike made sure to emphasize the however you want to pronounce it, because he knows how important it is to me. And since this is something I founded, and I say my company because the 6 or 7 people that are involved, I feel just as much their company as it is my company. They put just as much effort and work and dedication into making this company continue to grow. But it is mine, essentially. My name on the LLC is my name on this, that, and the other. Even though, there's certain people that have, rights to it. There's certain people that have percentages of the 110 Nation. it is essentially the majority is me and is personal to me, and that's the reason why I laugh, because he knows how important it is to me. We've had this conversation, and I've had similar conversations with others, not just the 110 Nation. We had a show that was part of the network at one point in time, and when they made the fan page, they made the fan page their name from and the show name, and even though it wasn't the 110 Nation, and even technically it wasn't our show, it was their show, they were just doing it on our network, I felt that it should be capitalized, period. To me, it's a proper name, and to me, it should be important enough to you that if you make a fan page, say it's, Joe Schmo with, this Go Racing, I don't know, I'm just making up something, then that Go and Racing should be capitalized as a proper name. That is something you should be proud of, and it's something you should want everybody to be proud of. I made his fan page, Hot Laps of Staff. I think they're all capitalized. All the letters might be capitalized, but I know that it's at least proper, it's all proper and everything. This was before the changes started happening, I believe, Mike. But you might be right with all the changes that Facebook's doing. That might be why they're not linked properly with the Twitter and automatically tweet my Facebook status updates. You're possibly right on that. But, there are just certain things that I feel that is proper. That's why, when I do show description, even though Shorty is just her nickname, but that's what everybody calls her, it's still going to get capitalized because, to me, that's a proper name. Even though that is a nickname, that is still proper. That is Shorty. And that's just like, Steve, he was notorious for that. He wouldn't put the "the" in it when he would do the show description. He finally, without me saying something, he finally caught on with every time that I corrected it that he would put, produced by the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. There for a long time, he just put produced by 110 Nation Sports Network, which is always funny when people get on the show and they try to give us a shout out and they check it all up. It's like 110 Nation or 110 Sports Nation, or they all get it backwards, which is always entertaining me. But I don't spin to it or really worry about it because I know that they don't work for us. I know those are the workforce. I feel that you take a little bit of pride in who you work for and what you're doing. But Steve, for the longest time, he would always leave out "the." And he finally caught on every time. I think he still. I still think he's not caught on to. The other thing that I know it's petty, but the other thing that I constantly correct, and I don't know, it might be petty, but I just feel it's proper. Mr. CJ Sports. I'm sorry, but it should be Mr. Period C. Period J. Period Sports. There's that's just the way to me it should be. And the only reason it's not on my fan page that way is it won't let me put the periods. I tried that. It won't let you put the Mr. with, the proper Mr. dot and C. dot, J. dot, or period, however you want to do it. But every time that Steve says a show description on I fix it. And I'm hoping at some point he'll catch on that I constantly fix it. It's not as important to me as the 110 Nation because that's just the name that was given to me. The 110 Nation is my baby. It's like my fifth child. It is something that I have nourished and I have helped grow for 5 years, and it is personal to me. But yes, that is another interesting little pet peeve of mine is when any time that I see it come through and it doesn't say Mr. Mr. dot C. dot J. dot Sports, I fix that every time. So I just feel that is my name. That is proper. That is the way it should be. And those little things about the 110 Nation, and for those that are out there listening, just curious. Those are the little things that I don't know. I feel that if you're not petty and take things personal, then nobody else is. And it might be petty to me, but other people seem to understand. It's just proper. It's just like walking into your doctor's office and saying, "Hey, Dave," whatever, instead of saying "Doctor," whatever. I mean, it's petty because, to you, it's just Dave, and he might be your doctor, but, blah, blah, blah. But, that's just out of respect, just like, I feel that out of respect and out of it being proper in my name, it should be spelled the way that I have it spelled, and that's just the way I feel about it. Have you ever known that I was that petty about this stuff like this, or that, I don't know, I guess that on what, have you ever noticed that before?
No, I mean, yes.
I didn't know if you ever noticed like that. I worry about those little things like being thrown in front of the 110 Nation, or
of course.
making sure.
Of course, I noticed. I mean, you've said things like.
I mean,
just a few minutes ago when you were like, just because it's her nickname, I feel like Shorty should be capitalized. I don't think I capitalized it on Facebook. I think it's a lowercase letter.
I mean,
I'm listening here laughing.
That's just the way I am about it. I mean, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but every time that I text message you and I talk about bird or dude, it is always capitalized. It's very rare that I slip up, and even though it's their nickname, to me it's their proper name. That's what I call them. To me, that's their proper name. Half the time it's weird for me to hear anything other than their nicknames. And when I send text messages or messages, it is very rare that I slip up and I do not capitalize D and dude or B and bird. That's just when I'm talking about your daughter, I capitalize the B. And I think even usually put it in parentheses. And even when I talk about Peyton, I put, but that's his name anyway. He's like the one that doesn't have a nickname, and everybody that I know.
Oh my gosh! So last night, they were talking about the ants. They had ants in their room. I, learned as to how the ants occurred, but nevertheless, they had ants in their room, and Peyton's like, but he was like, you need to spray the stuff so that you can kill the ants. He's like, they're Peyton eating ants. I was like, oh, so they eat Peyton. He said, yeah. And they're Elizabeth eating ants too, hubby. I was like, what? I looked at him and I was like, did you just say Elizabeth? He was like, no, I said B. I said, no, you said Elizabeth B.
So how did the ants occur? Did they manage to slip food in a bedroom somewhere?
There was a piece of pizza that the ants were attacking. Elizabeth found.
So that was one of those slips of food in the bedroom.
Pizza in this house in a while. So it kind of scares me.
That's not true. Your in-laws brought pizza like last week when they came and watched the kids. They ate the leftovers.
Yeah, but they didn't. But they did not eat any pizza. All right. Well, they ate pizza in the kitchen. But me and you were both here, weren't we?
They might have ate with the end. Did they not eat when they were babysitting them?
No, they had already ate. Most of that pizza was still there. Of what they didn't finish.
Unless your in-laws let them have a piece and they flipped off with it. They didn't get none when I got there because there was only three and a half pieces. I ate two of them and you ate the piece and a half. I ate the pepperoni or the cheese, whatever you didn't eat. I think I ate the cheese and you ate I think it was.
Oh my God.
Unless they did get a piece of it and they slipped off and stuck it into the room or just walked in the room with it, then yeah, before then, I don't know the last time we had pizza, but.
I think I'm about to watch. I'm thinking about to witness a repossession on Sinclair's car.
Repossession of what?
On Sinclair's car.
Oh, good. I hope she does get her car repoed.
Oh my gosh.
And I know that sounds mean, everybody listening to the show, but
I'm serious though.
The female that she lives two doors down, and she's a drama queen, and she intentionally about a month ago made a comment on Facebook that knew that it caused serious issues between Shorty and I, and was not appreciated and refused to take it down. She kind of indicated that me and Shorty and I was done, and that this was the man that she was in the picture who she was in the picture with, and had no respect for me nor Shorty, and so I really don't care. And she's white trash anyway, so, and I know that's mean to me, but she literally lives like white trash, and so as many complications we're having right now, and have the work screwed Shorty and the bank screwed me, and we're doing everything we can to keep the power on, keep a roof over our head, and everything else. It is very stressful this week. We don't do that to other people, and as a matter of fact, we still do everything we can to help other people. And depending on what our schedule is, they got a roadside cleanup with part of the Chive group, which is a group that does a lot of good things to help people. And they got a roadside cleanup coming up here in a couple weeks. And once we figure out the schedule, if it's possible, yes, I'm going to go help clean up the side of the road and be part of that. You know, even as tough as things are, Shorty and myself can find a way to help somebody, we're going to help somebody. That's just the way we are. We kind of put our issues to the side and what's going on rough in our life. If we can help others, if we can make it happen. And that's just the way we are. And so it's not one of those things that, you know, we're people as we help people. I'm just sorry, I have no love for somebody that deliberately tries to pry in between the 2+ years that Shorty and I have worked hard at this relationship and overcome a lot of things. And unfortunately, basically two doors down the other direction, and another female tried to do the exact same thing and really, really did a good job one night of really causing an issue. Shorty came in the door, and I thought she was going to kill me. And, you know, it was one that I had to call her back down because she had left. I had to call her back down to the house, and I'm like, look, we really need to compare stories. We really need to talk. And once we sat down and talked after almost killing each other all night long, we realized that this person had twisted everything that was ever said to turn us against each other. And that is basically what both of them have tried to do. And, you know how people are. Misery loves company, and they're not happy in their situations and happy in their relationships or whatever the case may be, and they just want other people to be miserable and unhappy. And, you know, there's a couple of the things that Shorty and I have had to overcome in the last couple of years. And, you know, we overcame it, and we've learned a valuable lesson that we don't let too many people into our personal life or into our life period. We're very selective on our friends at this point, and we've also learned that if anything gets said or gets done, that we talk to each other before there's any kind of reaction, because 9 out of 10 times, whatever it is ain't true, and they're just trying to cause drama and cause trouble for us. So we've learned those lessons.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm listening to you, but I'm watching them. Like,
well, I guess you'll know if it's a repo.
They hooked that car up.
You'll know it's a repo if they come running out as they're pulling off. That's in a text message. Did your car get repoed? Or wait till it pulls off and say, did your car just get repoed, or did your car break down? I just find it hard to believe that someone could do what?
I saw him driving it earlier, so.
I would say I find it hard that they would have it down, someone towing it at 10:40 tonight. I thought about it after I said that. So obviously that's not what that's about. There's not too many garages that are open this late or send tow trucks out this late at night to bring a car in to be worked on. So obviously it is what that is.
I know, but I mean, I knew they were repoing it. They drove down the street. They turned around. They stopped up the road for a second. They came back down. They backed in. The girl got out of the car, ran to the car with a flashlight, looked at the VIN number, ran back to the car. They finished backing up. And now they hooked up the car. They're just both sitting right there for a minute. I can see both of them.
I tell you what, that's got to be an interesting job.
Oh, yeah.
Just
I know a
knowing
guy
that-
that used to be repo.
And I almost got into it when I was unemployed. That couple month period of time, I had an insight on possibly getting hooked up with that. No, actually, it was bounty hunting. Never mind, it wasn't fun. I just think it's got to be an interesting job because you watch these repo shows of people fighting for their cars and shooting people for their cars and everything else, and you're just out there trying to do a job that you're getting paid, and it's not like you're getting paid a crap ton of money to do it. You're just getting paid trying to make a living, and if these people not wanting their cars repoed, I tell you what, that's got to be an interesting occupation there.
There's a little old lady walking across the street. I think it's John's mom. This shit's funny.
It's hooked on that. They ain't gonna unhook it.
Oh, I know. I'm surprised they didn't get out of there like as soon as they fucking hooked that shit up. They're still sitting there. Like, why are you still sitting there talking to each other? Get in the car and talk. Get away.
But it gives you the possibility of having the drama that she so much loves if they stand out there forever.
Oh, I see Sinclair. She's there.
She outside
and John.
now?
Sinclair and John are here.
Yes, the One Fit Nation Sports Show has turned into up to date repo.
I've never seen a repo. I want this shit to get ugly. Oh, I mean, this stuff to get.
Yes, we got to keep it clean. We were picked up by a Christian race band group, and I want to welcome you all to the One Fit Nation Sports Radio Network. We promise we'll do our darndest to make sure that we keep it PG. But we did pick up a fan page that is a Christian racing fan page that's going to be posting our links on their show. So we do got to or posting our links on their page. So we got to make sure that we try our darndest to keep it as PG as possible.
Okay.
I kind of had the same thought when Miss Lee told me. I was like, wow, for the most part we keep it clean, but we have our days that.
And there's Sean.
Yeah, we have our days that we let things slip, so that ought to be interesting. There's some days I just don't give a dig on, and something really has me riled up enough that I'm going to say what I want to say, and regardless. And every time I apologize, especially to the I-95 Sports Network, I don't know what their policies are and everything else, and I do apologize to them, and I'll say I'll take whatever, consequences that I got to take from the FCC or whatever. But, and then I say what I got to say. I do try to be apologetic, but every once in a while there are just things that I got to say, and it's got to be said the way I want to say it. But I try to make sure that we keep it clean. Now, Thursday nights are not necessarily the same, and Monday nights racing, Rubbins Racing, because Steve's going to say whatever, and I've already come to terms with that and got to live with that one. And he doesn't do often, but there's just times that he just it goes, and I just kind of say, okay, that's that. So.
Well, if you ever put him on, if you guys get on iHeartRadio, you guys put him on after 9, 10 o'clock or whatever, after dark. You can toast them. Actually, I have no idea about iHeartRadio.
So the tow truck's still just sitting there?
Yeah, they're all standing in front of the tow truck. Granny got there first. Granny hobbled across the freaking road.
Wait,
I never had this much problem.
Yes, Mom. She's dropping every word possible. And we got a play-by-play on the repo. Are they standing in front of us to block it, or did he stand out there talking?
They're just standing out there talking right now. Like,
Why can't they go? Why can't they go literally just try to blow through them? That would really set the night off.
Well, Sinclair cannot do anything because if Sinclair does anything, she goes to jail. She's on probation.
And the more I learn about the trailer park trash.
I'm surprised that John's not out there yelling and cussing. He's actually walking back inside. So I'm surprised he's not out there yelling and cussing. He's bipolar.
Well, he's got a...
Either that or just too high to care.
To answer your question, Mike, we had a guest last Thursday I was supposed to come on the show. They were from Australia. And for those that didn't listen in to Rachel with Big Sweat, and they couldn't call us because it cost them something like $90 to be on the show because they're calling from Australia. What is happening? What the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network is doing is we're going to get a business account for Skype, and it's going to make it where we can take calls and make calls, international calls, and that's what we're working on. I think this week we're working on getting the business Skype account finalized, and then next week we're looking about having those guests back on. There's two of them that are international drivers that we're looking on getting back on the Thursday night show. So that's what we're working on. And he probably just doesn't care because he's got a truck. What does he care? Honestly, what do either one of them care? Because she ain't got a license anyway, if I'm not mistaken. So what really makes the difference if they have that other car that obviously they can't afford if that's the repo van?
I mean, I don't know. She doesn't have, like, the only two people I ever really see driving that car is either her or Sean, and neither one of them have a license. The only person down there that has a license is John, and he's at work till like 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, well, is the repo man still just sitting there?
Yeah, I guess John went inside and got something, and he came back out. I guess he went and got the keys because I saw something shiny. I don't know.
Where are you about to walk over? You said he was about to walk over something to get something to drink.
I was talking with the neighbor.
All right. Well, you give me an up-to-date play-by-play when I get off the show here as we're getting ready to wrap things up. And I'll be over there in probably about 10 to 15 minutes. Hopefully everybody's still going on out there and I can be a part of the play-by-play. I got to thank Shorty for joining me tonight. I got to thank Mike for joining us tonight and hanging out in the studio and relaying some information for us throughout the show. So I got to thank that. I got to thank Snafu Seasoning, Fit for Life, for being on board here at 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. Don't forget tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, Racing with Big Sweat. Friday night, Hot Laps with that, 8 p.m. Noon on Saturday, Happy Hour Garage. Make sure you guys check us out on Twitter at 110 Nation. You can check me out at CJ Sports 1. Also on Facebook, you can check my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. I put an interesting picture of the Oregon female softball team. If you're a fan of, how do I want to say this and be proper? If you're a fan of a team picture that involves seeing their names on the back of their shirt, we'll go with that. In their baseball jerseys that we know how women like men's baseball pants. You might want to check that. In other words, if you're a guy, and yeah, just check out my personal fan page. And Shorty, you might want to look at it too. You might want to check that out. But check out my fan page. Also, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our site, www.110nationsports.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Want to thank everybody. Another great week, another great opportunity this week. I love being on here. I love everybody that was able to participate in this week's show. Mike, Steve, Shorty, Izzo. Got to thank everybody that made all this possible this week. Looking forward to being back here Monday night, talk about Pocono, talk about the NBA Finals, where we're going to be at with Cleveland and Golden State. Any of the other hot topics. Hopefully we got some guests lined up for us next week. We're talking to Miss Lee as the week goes on. We'll let you guys know as we get those confirmed as well. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week, a great weekend. Make sure that you guys go out and support your local tracks for those that are Ready fans. Support your local, any sports that is local to you guys. Make sure you guys check them out as well. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You guys have a great night, and until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the 110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110Nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Earlier this week, Claire Tippins shared a princess nickname generator, 3 pictures of her dog wearing a tutu, and 2 online quizzes, including what candy is your dream castle made of? Claire, your sharing has tipped the sugar scale and turned into oversharing. But have no fear, princess. Geico has something worth sharing with your internet kingdom, like how you could save hundreds on your car insurance just by visiting geico.com. No magic wand required. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.